Message from St.Germain 10, Your True Identity. Dear ones, I am St.Germain. At this time, where most of you are celebrating, or taking a holiday in the midst of your usual busy lives, you might find a special time and sacred space to take my message to your heart. We are happy that many of you now are starting to more and more wake up, wanting to know the truth behind the politics of your governments, your history. But most of all, ever more of you start to question who you really are and where you came from. Dear humans, in this context I am referring to the fact that the paradigm your race has been living with and believing in for thousands of years, convinced that it was solid truth, is not what you think it is. There is no truth about it, never has been, as many of you already know, but to face this fact is more disturbing for many of you than you are aware of. Because, if you manage to establish yourselves well, it questions all your beliefs, the quality of your social structure, your safety and the roles you are playing in this structure, and your identification with it. What you are now experiencing is the breaking down of your identity, and this is perhaps the most difficult thing you must face on your way to a new era of your world, which is already on its way, and will in due course of time change profoundly its appearance, functioning and frequency. Losing your identity, with which you have been familiar all your lifetime, even in most cases innumerable lifetimes before, is the most difficult and challenging task you could ever encounter. Losing your possessions is something else, because you can survive it by holding on to the same identity. Not so when your idea about what you think you are is falling apart. However, this old and familiar identity so far has limited you profoundly to a being which is supposed to be just a body-mind, separate even from your family and the ones you most love, and the rest of humanity and the world. You have been well adapting to this limitation for centuries and millenniums, and only very few of the human race dared to question this limited identity, and searched for a more expanded meaning of their lives and themselves. They have been heroes, because they had the courage to step out of their familiar environment, to leave behind a feeling of belonging, which might have led them to the experience of isolation from the rest of you. This is also the reason why you did never start to question yourselves, whether your limited state was your true identity, because you were driven by fear to end up in such an isolation from the rest of your human family that you would experience when you would decide to step out of a normal social group consciousness. You have been just too afraid to allow the urge of your inherent heart desire to investigate your deeper nature, but rather suppressed it to the point where you did not feel it anymore. And because of this fear, you often preferred to ridicule and put down those with courage to find their true self. The other reason why you have kept yourselves locked up in your limited identity have been your governments, who understood to educate you in a way that kept you in your belief of what you thought you were. They gave you intentionally wrong information about your true identity, in schools, universities, their media, and by spreading falsified scientific knowledge by people who have been bribed by them to make wrong statements. In this way, they managed to manipulate your inherent understanding about yourself and your world, so that you ceased to trust your own intuition and your heart. Deeply confused by this conflict, you started to take refuge to your perceptual thinking mind, and from then on you walked a path of arbitrariness, where you blindly followed a world of mind, where everything could be proven and disproved simultaneously. While some of you followed theories which seemed to be proven, others swore that the opposite was true. However, your conviction was not one of your heart, where truth can be found, but was based on mere mental findings and arbitrary personal likes and dislikes. In this way you have become extremely vulnerable to outside forces and increasing manipulation, while you divided in groups of different beliefs and convictions. From then on, it was very easy for your manipulators to gain increasing power over you. I do not need to continue to explain this further, as I know that most of you understand today exactly this dilemma: humanity is suffering. But if you now consciously, by following my explanation, recognize and understand the history and reason why you perhaps have been one of those who are still hesitating to let go of your old identity, by understanding that it is a false identity, you will be able to easier let it go and give room to your true identity to emerge. What is your true identity? Dear ones, your true identity is divine and is not limited to a role in a social group, like a family, your working situation, a church, or a nation. It is not limited to any doctrine or your thinking capability and how you use it. It is not limited to your physical body and your senses. It is not limited to your experience of birth and death, short and superficial joys, and long-lasting and deep suffering. Your true identity is your inherent and forever free and eternal soul, whose nature is undying and unlimited joy, happiness, and pure love. In all your endeavors to accumulate possessions and power, and to experience sophisticated enjoyments, you have been searching always exactly for this happiness only. But you have indeed limited yourselves to your finite body, lifetime, role play, possessions, or the lack of them. While you have been searching for something, you have been already, all the time. Therefore, your true nature's freedom is the freedom from all these limiting identifications with things, which originally have been created to allow you to experience creation as a divine being, but not as a being in slavery, with suffering, separation, and deadly endings. This has never been the divine plan. But things happened that way, superimposed on you by forces who had not your very best in their hearts. However, it was you who allowed this to happen, this limitation, this deprivation of your true divine nature. In due course of this process, you developed this false identity, and what is now given to you, in this glorious era of awakening, is the opportunity, and the divine gift and compassion, that allows you to take back what you lost, your true divine identity. By opening your heart, where you have stored all your pain, since millenniums, your own truth can be experienced again. But you must acknowledge all the pain as the doorway to your true and always inherent happiness. All your pain in your heart are events where you have betrayed your own truth so many times, and where you are still betraying yourselves, where you haven't been true to yourself, where you followed false doctrines, and where you allowed yourselves to be manipulated by others who played the separate game with you, and you agreed. By taking back what you are, you will free the love, the happiness, the unlimited light and energy that you are, because you are remembering that you are a free being, participating directly and immediately in the force of divine light, energy, and love, even with your physical body, all of which sustains your existence boundlessly. This non-separate participation in the all that is your true identity, my dear ones. It is limitless, and your constant experience of all the happiness and love, as which you dance the experience of your life. Be blessed, dear ones, let yourselves fall into the source of your own beingness, to be the fullness of who you are. I am St. Germain.